Welcome to True Scary Stories. My name is Christopher, and here is Kaylin's true scary story. What if a family heirloom meant to fill your home with music started filling it with something far more sinister? In today's spine-chilling episode of True Scary Stories with Christopher, Kaylin recounts the haunting mystery of her family's piano, a vintage piece with a mind of its own. Strange sounds echo through empty rooms, unseen hands press keys in the dead of night, and a final heart-wrenching moment makes her question whether this piano was a portal to something beyond. Stick with us to hear every eerie detail. This is one tale you won't forget. Dare to listen. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and sharing story with your friends for more real horror stories. Let's get started. Do you know of someone with a real-life terrifying story? I'm looking for spine-chilling experiences told in English for our channels, True Scary Stories with Christopher. And if you or someone you know has a haunting tale to share, I want to hear it. My contact information is on every single episode. You can reach me via email, Instagram, or through our Facebook page. And if you want to hear just how dark these stories can get, find our show called True Scary Stories with Christopher. I'm Kaylin. I host Heart Starts Pounding, a podcast of horrors, hauntings, and mysteries. It's a show for those with dark curiosities. We cover lots of paranormal, spooky, dark history, and true crime stories. And part of the reason why I'm really interested in those kinds of stories is because of an experience I had growing up when I think I had a haunted piano in my house. Back in the day, my dad bought a piano from an estate sale. There was a man who passed away, and he had this upright piano from the 70s or 80s maybe. I don't know how old it was. So my dad, who was a piano player himself, bought it and brought it to our house. I'm like, oh my God, yay. I was probably like 5 years old at the time. So I started taking piano lessons. And I would sit and I would play this piano, and there was always kind of like a weird vibe to it. Right when you walk in the front door, it was to the left, and to the right was the stairs. And I remember it was around the time we got the piano that I would start like running up the stairs to get to my room. I couldn't ever at night walk by this room. I always had to run because I would always get really spooked. It just had a weird vibe, but during the day it felt okay. So I would play the piano and practice. One day, my dad and I are walking up the stairs, and we get to the point where as you're walking up the stairs, eventually you can't see the piano anymore because you get to like the second story. And just as my head clears the second story and I can't see the piano anymore, my dad's in front of me, we hear the piano play. It's like something jumped on the piano. And immediately, my dad's like, get the cat. We think it's maybe the cat jumped on the piano. I run downstairs. Cat's nowhere to be found. I'm like, Dad, I don't think the cat's down here. And we go upstairs, and the cat is sleeping on my dad's bed. And we both looked at each other, and both of us were like, whoa. And from that moment on, we kind of started joking that the piano was haunted. Fast forward about a year from then, I'm getting a little bit better at playing the piano. I can sit down and play a song by myself. So I'm sitting and I'm playing the piano. And as I'm playing, I start getting this weird feeling. It's like the feeling that something's watching me. And I think, sometimes my dad would come in and watch me play. Whatever. And I'm thinking that my dad is behind me, so I'm starting to show off a little bit. I'm playing more and more, and I look down at my left hand because I'm about to play a little bit with my left hand. And at the bottom of the piano, the lower register, the 3 lowest notes, all pressed down together as if a hand was on the piano pressing them. But nothing else was touching the piano. Just the 3 lowest notes all pressed down together. They make the noise and then they come up. And I bolted out of the room. It was the strangest thing I'd ever seen in my life. It felt like someone was standing behind me, and then I watched the piano play by itself. So I ran out and my dad's like, "What's going on? What happened?" And I'm like, "The piano played itself. It played by itself. I don't know what's going on." And it was another moment of us just being like, "Oh, that's very spooky, that something's going on." Over the years, some weird stuff like that would happen. A note would play by itself. I would be upstairs. I would hear the piano kind of make a noise. And not that it was a funny joke that the piano was haunted, but we knew when it played by itself, we were all like, it's the haunted piano. And we'd all get a chill. It always stayed scary to us, but we tried to cope with it by laughing about it. The weirdest thing that happened was when I was 14 years old, my grandmother passed away. She was really old. It was very expected, and it was June when she died. So it was summertime. School had just ended. It was maybe the day after she died that I was home playing the piano, and I was thinking to myself, I'm playing the piano. And next to us, we had this box of sheet music. And we always cycled through the sheet music every year. So Christmas music comes out during Christmas. But on off season, it's at the bottom of the box. It's so far away from me to be able to pick up, which is important to the story. But I'm playing the piano. And all of a sudden, behind me as I'm playing, and I'm like thinking about my grandma, and I'm really sad. I start hearing something kind of like whooshing through the air behind me, as if a piece of paper is kind of like gently falling behind me. And then I hear paper kind of like graze the wood floor behind me. And I turn around and there's a piece of sheet music that looks like it's been ripped out of a book. And that is a huge faux pas in my house. You do not rip sheet music out of a book. You open the book and you fold it, or you find something to hold the pages open. But like every book has to remain intact. So I turn around and I'm like, none of us ripped a piece of sheet music out of a book. And it was just one page by itself. And I pick it up and it's Away in a Manger, the Christmas song. And I just get this really weird feeling like, why is one piece of sheet music, which is way packed away at this point of the year, ripped out of a book? It just did not feel like us. But I ended like something came over me that was like, you need to play this song right now. This sheet music just came out of nowhere. So I put it on the piano and I stopped playing it. And I hear my dad running through the house, barreling towards the room I'm in. And he has tears in his eyes. And he's like, why are you playing Away in a Manger? And I was like, it's going to sound crazy. But this piece of sheet music just appeared from nowhere. And I just felt like I had to play it. And he was like, growing up, that was your grandmother's favorite Christmas song. And both of us just started crying. It was like, we didn't even have to say it. But in that moment, we were like, she wanted me to play that song one more time. And I don't know if the piano was some sort of conduit, a portal of some sort, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know if it just had some sort of connection where she was able to make that last request through the piano specifically. But after that, nothing weird ever happened with the piano again. That was the last thing. So we have Kaylin here with us from Heart Starts Pounding. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I do have a few questions about it. Do you know where the piano came from and all of that? I don't know exactly who it was or the house. I just know, and I asked my dad later on exactly where he got it from. All he knows is that a guy passed away, had the piano, and he went and bought it for cheap. And you always hear something about the haunted piano, like in some classic stories, but never heard one on the show. I know. Yeah, it is kind of like a haunted house kind of trope. But no, it really was for us a very real thing. Wow. We got rid of that piano a few years later and then upgraded to a nicer one. And there's been nothing weird with it. It was like a new piano. It was just that one. When all this stuff was happening, did you ever talk with anybody else in the house about it? Just my dad. I mean, my dad was the only other person that played the piano, so we were really the only two interacting with it. I have a sibling who's also in the house and always thought that the house was haunted in some way. And same thing, even to this day, runs past that room just from growing up, always having that weird feeling, but it was mainly just my dad and I that were like, something's going on. We don't know what it is, but something's going on. Wow. So it was normal for you then to like, oh, this thing is haunted. I would say, yeah, normal in a way that was still scary though. We still were freaked out by it being haunted. It was one of those unspoken things though that both of us were like, the piano's haunted. No one for a second was like, yeah, but I don't know if ghosts are real. Maybe something else is going on. Both of us were just like, no, it's haunted. Did you buy secondhand items? And have you suspected any of them to be haunting? Let me know. If you or anyone you know has a story to share in English, let me know. I'll link to everything in the description of this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and sharing story with your friends for more real horror stories. If you're following the channel, I'll talk to you next week. Thank you very much for listening. Keep it scary, everyone. See you soon.